2020 was only the beginning. You must prepare yourself for the road to Olympus.
All right. We should make a video game.
Did you just get that because of what we saw?
Yeah. Because of the vault thing. I'm just saying. Like a video game where you don't actually have to work out. You just play somebody that's working out.
Oof, no, that's a different beast.
Welcome back to the Street Parking Coaches Roundtable. I almost called it the Vault. And we're here. It's episode 5. And it's December 15th today. And in 2 weeks from now, we're going to be just a few days shy of the end of the year and about to head into a brand new year. So we thought it would be fun today to talk about the problems that we see or the issues that as former in-person coaches and now having 4 years under our belt of an online community, the problems or pitfalls that we see people making when they start a new fitness program, or specifically in 2 weeks from now when you guys are all writing down your list of New Year's resolutions, the pitfalls or mistakes that people make when doing that. I wanted to kick it off. I wanted to ask you, Jeb, what's the hardest time of year to work out, would you say, for people?
I would say it's probably the winter time.
Like November, December.
Yeah.
When people tend to work out the least.
They tend to work out the least because then they're like, oh, well, January's coming. I'm going to hit it hard in the new year.
Yeah, so what is it about November? Like, because honestly, if we're just being candid, we get the highest number of cancellations of street parking memberships in like October when it starts to get cold. And people are like, can't do it. It's cold. And as I was like preparing for today, I was like, you know what other month it's cold and you're not super motivated to work out because it's still cold? January. But this is the time when everybody decides that they're going to start, when really nothing has changed about your life between today, December 15th, and January 1st. But you think miraculously somehow the cold weather and it being dark super early and all that stuff is just not going to bother you on January 1st. It's so funny to me. That's it. That's what I was thinking before we started today. Julian actually, right before we started this, said that he always considers New Year on his birthday, which makes way more sense because it's a new year of your life cycle, I guess. And his birthday's in September, so you might be a little bit more successful then than you would be during the 2 coldest months of the year, which is January and February, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that just people need to work on their own timeline and get away from, like Alex said when we were talking about this, the idea sounds awesome because it's something everybody can get behind. It's a new year for time? I don't know,
what does time even mean,
yeah, it's
Jeb?
just like for the date, but again, you got to make it your own journey. So for me, I've always held to that. What changes are you going to make this year for next year, starting from when I, hit my birthday? And that has always worked well for me. It's just a better gauge to follow.
Yeah, and I think in years past, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, I did a post on my Instagram that was like, whatever is stopping you, it was like a week before New Year's or something like that. Whatever is stopping you or making it difficult for you to eat better now, or sleep better now, or exercise now, whatever it is that's making that difficult for you to do right now is still going to be there on January 1st. Hate to break it to you, but if you're in a state that your kids are still home with you and businesses are still closed and you're still, working from home, I don't think that's changing in the next 2 weeks. And so whatever it is that's making it difficult for you today, you need to prepare yourself. And if you're planning on doing some New Year's resolutions, that's fine. But know that none of that stuff is going to change. You're still you. Your house is still your house. Your equipment that you have is still your equipment that you have. It's still cold outside. You still don't love burpees. Like, none of that changes on January 1st. And I think that's like the best place for people to start, is to look at what is stopping me right now and how am I going to work around those things, not expecting those things to go away. So that's like would be my number one piece of advice. What are some of the mistakes that you guys have seen either when you were running your gym or owning your gyms, or since being a part of street parking, that you guys see as the biggest mistakes that people make?
I would say, I mean, when people, this can often be New Year's, but it could be really any time of year when people get super gung-ho about starting something new. And there's this psychological thing that happens where it's like, well, what I'm going to be doing is obviously very challenging because I haven't done it yet. So I have to set this date, and I'm going to start, and I'm going to get all of my willpower and motivation and everything ready to go so that I can take the leap on this date. And then they take the leap, and then like they're like falling and falling and falling, and then a few days go by and they're still falling and falling, and they're like, wait, I actually have to, there's more to it than just getting really excited about something and then signing on the dotted line and saying I'm going to do it. And it, for me, I think that comes down to a general attitude. I was reading a definition of attitude recently that said a settled way of thinking or feeling about something or someone. And for me, like, the most important word there is settled, because we can have the best intentions going into some new year or new program, but if that attitude is not settled and like deeply internalized in us, then it's not going to sustain us for very long. And another way of thinking about a settled way of thinking or feeling is a belief. So
That's so great. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I'm going to change, but you have to change your mind before any of the results are going to follow, or whatever results that you do get, are, if they're ever going to be sustained, you have to change more than just your actions for a few weeks. You've got to change your belief about those actions. And that's like something that I know we've been talking about recently on my Instagram with my little Atomic Habits book club, where we're talking all about that. I actually, to prepare for today, I just did like a quick Google search of like why people fail New Year's resolutions. And I found this article that was actually published in 2018. And I don't know if it was December of 2018 or January. It doesn't really matter. But they had conducted a study of, I'm not going to say the exact number because I don't remember, but it was like millions of people and New Year's resolutions. And they found like an exact date where it peaked that people gave up. And it was like by January 12th, 12 days, 55% of people, and again, I didn't conduct the study. I don't know if this is accurate, but it sounds right based on what I've seen. 55% of people have already thrown in the towel. That's like the peak date of when most people will give up. And Jeb and I were talking about it before, and it's like, why is that? Well, number one, about 10 days into something is where it gets real. And this is now, is this my real life? Like, am I giving up sugar forever? Am I just going to, 10 days in is where it starts to get hard. And I think around that like 10 days to 2 week period is where people expect to see a certain level of results. And if they don't, they give up entirely. And so that's rough. 12 days. That's not very long. What have you seen?
It's funny you asked if I ever did like New Year's resolutions, because I was never really a believer in setting goals because it never worked for me. And so there was something to it that I realized, like, something was not clicking between me figuring out what I wanted to accomplish and never kind of digging deeper into, first off, how do I need to accomplish this? So Atomic Habits is great because I think he lays it out in a very like concise way, steps to go about achieving goals. But then what I realized was, and I think James Clear does a great job of, is I had to dig in past the what, past the how, to who. Like, what kind of person do I need to be in order to achieve this goal? Because up to this point, I have not yet been able to do that, and I've been the same person. So something is keeping me as a person from being able to do that. And when you posted that you would be reading Atomic Habits, and I had a few extra copies, so I posted a giveaway, but the requirement for entry was to comment on my post with a habit you wanted to cultivate and a habit you wanted to eliminate. And I read through it this morning, and one of the, apart from like eliminating screen time, which I thought was like super relevant, one of the habits to eliminate was negative self-talk and like self-doubt. And I thought that was so fitting because we, who we are, I think, is all about like the stories we tell ourselves or what we believe in, our attitudes. And so many people are struggling with doubting themselves or telling themselves, I'll never be healthy. I'll never be, that's not me. And it's like, oh, but if I can dig down into that, look at that, and spend some time rewriting that story, then I can move forward with the how, and then eventually hopefully get to the what. But it all, I think, for me, always starts with who am I, how do I identify, and then I can go from there.
Yeah, I think one of the things that people should be asking themselves before they even talk about the how also, I love the who thing, is why? Why do you want to get better sleep? Why do you want to grow in your career? Why do you want to quit biting your fingernails? Like, what is the purpose? And like, people don't like this kind of stuff. They don't want to hear it because it's like, I don't want to like think about like my feelings and all that stuff. I just want to lose weight. I want to look better. Like it's that simple, but it's never that simple. And you ask yourself why, ask yourself, what type of person do I need to become? Not what type of person am I going to be temporarily or pretend to be temporarily. What type of person do I need to become? And then, one of the examples that he gives in the book that Alex was mentioning is a friend of his was trying to lose weight, and she would ask herself for every decision she was making throughout the day, what would a healthy person do? What would a healthy person do? And she would just do what a healthy person would do. And at first, it was kind of like a fake it till you make it type thing. And she, she didn't necessarily believe that she was a healthy person, but she would just do what a healthy person did. And over time, it built evidence that she might also be a healthy person because she's shown over and over again that she can make those types of decisions. But people don't dig nearly deep enough when they're setting goals into some of that kind of stuff. And I think, unfortunately, because of like the January 12th thing also, it's pretty socially acceptable to completely fail on your New Year's resolutions. Like, it's like, yeah, I gave that up. And everyone's like, yeah, me too, bro. And it's like, cool, let's go play Halo again. Or I don't even know, is Halo a game still? Whatever. And that's unfortunate because I think it's just New Year's resolutions have become a thing that you say, and then if you don't do it, it's not a big deal, and you just move on and you wait till next year or whatever. What do you think? What are some of the things that you've seen, like as like coaching people or just knowing?
Oh, I mean, this is a big one in general. It's your surroundings. We went to go watch a movie. Is it Amy Runs a Marathon? Oh yeah. Right? Is that? But I don't know if it was Amy, but it was definitely something runs in. What was it?
Brittany. Yeah, it was Brittany.
Brittany Runs a Marathon did an amazing job of capturing how much your surrounding really influences you. We know this because we see it, but what helps us is look at our surroundings, right? Each one of us has found our purpose and why we work out on a day-to-day basis because we understand the value and importance of it. Because it's true, when it comes to being a healthy individual, it's something that cannot be purchased. And I think that is really hard for people to understand. You can't purchase being a healthy person or getting to the level of fitness that us on this panel have. It's just being aware that we are very fit people, but we've worked our butts off for it. And it's allowed us, we've surrounded ourselves with people that have the same mentality, which has allowed us to continue to go and just run with it. Your surroundings, sometimes one of the things that hurts the most when trying to make change is realizing when you start to make change, you're going to lose things in your life that you didn't think you were going to lose before, right? So as you say are gung-ho mentally, you're in it, you're day 12 in, you have a moment of weakness, and then look at who you're surrounding yourself. Could it be a roommate? Could it be a spouse? Could it be a family member? Could it be whatever? And their goals don't align with you. So they're like, hey, like, well, you've been working really hard. Why don't you just come grab a drink with me, or come eat this food? Like, you're going to be fine. That is not the person that you need in that moment, because you're going to need a little bit of time to discipline and set this new habit before you can kind of allow yourself to go back to, it is fine. It is an uncomfortable phase at first until you adopt the mindset. It's very psychological at first. So people around you will impact you psychologically as well. So it's one of those things where when you start realizing that and how toxic your environment can be, that's another issue you're going to have to address. Oh no, like, do I distance myself from this person because like I'm trying to make change for the better and they're not ready? Or do I just not hurt their feelings because I don't want to be a bad friend or a family member or a spouse, and just and then succumb to the pressure of fitting in your circle still? And then that's when I feel people just drop off and go back into, because if you don't have that support, good luck. It takes a very, very, very strong mindset individual to be able to overcome those things. And a lot of times it's athletic people or somebody that has been able to overcome some kind of addiction on their own before to be able to do that on their own. But for the majority of people, over 90% of people, that's why they fail.
Yeah, I think that, so there's your beliefs about yourself that you already have, and maybe because you've failed in the past or whatever, you're battling this belief of like, am I a healthy person? Will I ever like actually embody that? Like, am I just the person who loses 10 pounds and gains it back over and over again? And then the people around you are used to you being a different person also. So you have to change their belief about you. And what's unfortunate in fitness specifically is that it is very socially acceptable also to give someone crap who's trying to improve their health. Like, it is very socially acceptable if somebody's like, no, it's okay, like, I brought food from home, to be like, oh, give me a break. Like, you're going to eat that salad? Like, let's go to freaking Carl's Jr. like we did last month, or like we always have. Like, what are you doing? That's so dumb. You're so lame. I hate it so much, because you wouldn't say that to an alcoholic. You wouldn't say that to somebody who's trying to quit smoking. You wouldn't, hopefully your friends, you're surrounded by people that aren't that toxic, which definitely happens. But when it comes to people changing health stuff, or no, I'm not going to go today, I'm going to go home and work out. Oh, come on, bro. Like, you've been working out already. Like, so lame. Blah, blah, blah. It's really, really hard. So you have to change the belief system in yourself. And it's going to take a while for the people around you to be like, oh, crap, like, this is actually who he or she is now. And I need to stop pestering them about it, because they've changed. And whether it's fitness or something else, it's going to take a little bit. Yeah, I think one of the things that I saw in some of the stuff I was reading that I really like too is there's people overthink it. There's too much research happening and not enough doing action. And Jeb, do you see that happening with people?
100%. I am very guilty of that as well. Just the analysis paralysis, where I just want to like read of all this stuff and get somebody to explain to me how. I want to know how you do it. How do you do it? How do you do it? And then by the time I understand how, I'm so exhausted that I don't actually want to take action and do it. So yeah, I firsthand understand that, and then I've seen that with a lot of people, and it's so simple. I think the thing I keep thinking of is like just the more than nothing, right? If you want to change your belief in yourself, if you want to change other people's beliefs in you, yeah, people who know you and are familiar with you are going to look at you funny if all of a sudden you like start working out for 3 hours a day and eating like only carrots or something. They're going to be like, what are you doing? But if it's one little tiny habit that you change, if it's one little action that you change, then you start to change that belief in yourself. And then maybe people around you don't even notice. Maybe they do. Who cares? But it's that more than nothing. It's that little bit at a time that I think is the only way that I've seen can successfully overcome that.
I think that like the overthinking or over like researching and all of that stuff too can be, whether you're conscious of it or not, a stall. You're stalling. Like you coming on the Facebook group and saying, guys, which supplements do I need? I'm trying to figure this out before I start. Or which version of the workout is best for me, or which accessory workouts should I be doing, or this or that. And you're waiting to start until you have all of the info that you think is going to be perfectly tailored to your, unicorn situation. I think it's a stalling mechanism, and I think not everybody is using it as that on purpose. But we see all the time, people are like, what should my macros be, and this and that, and it's like, what did you have for breakfast? Like, start there. Like, eat a vegetable, for crying out loud. Like, don't worry about how many grams of carbs you need each day right out of the gate. Just start making small changes, and I think pay attention to if you're just stalling, and any action is better than nothing. So
I do want to bring up something, because when Jeb said that he is a big thinker, right? But Jeb does, though, right? He does think a lot, sometimes too much. But he's also backs it up by also taking action. Like not long ago, Jeb got done reading a book about breathing and how to breathe, and he wanted to commit himself to nasal breathing for 1 month of street parking workouts. And at first, we gave him crap for it.
we were the people saying like, oh, come on, bro.
We were those people for a couple sessions, but then Jeb stuck his ground. He stood to it, and you know what? You just back off and respect the fact that he was still joining us in fitness, and two, then at that point you ask him, because it's so interesting how that works. It's that hurdle you have to overcome, because at some point, if you stick to the road, then afterwards we ask him well, hey, did you notice any benefits? Tell me what you learned from it, because then you become curious as an individual, and then that's how you start influencing the people around you. But yeah, your circle, can really influence you as well. Like at a certain point we knew, okay, Jeb's really sticking to his guns, because you can know if someone's serious or not, because Jeb could have been like, yeah, you're right, guys. I'm not going to nasal breathe. I'm just silly. But then that would have been messed up, because what if he really and he did. And so I like to push things. Like I really like to mentally test people to see how serious they are on certain topics. And he showed me that he was, so you back off. And then you just let him do the process and just support him, and then see how it went afterwards. So it just kind of all ties into all these topics.
That's a really good point. And I think the other reason why nasal breathing or some of the other random things that Jeb does are okay for him to try out is because he's already consistent in fitness. Now, if you're somebody who I haven't worked out in 5 years, and you come to me with this cockamamie idea of doing all your workouts, breathing in and out through your nose, I'm going to work out 5 days a week. I'm going to nasal breathe only. I'm going to do a freaking cold ice bath after each workout, and I'm going to have these specific macros and this and this. I'd be like, no. That's way too much. That's over the top. And as a fitness professional, as a coach, I would advise you against all of it. I would, so consistency has got to be there before you start branching out and trying other things that are kind of on the fringe. And then once, that's set in place, then that's fine to try out different things like that. But people come on January 1st with the nasal breathing and the ice baths and the over-the-top program and the over-the-top nutrition all at once. And that's where that's a super big issue. What do you guys think about the types of goals that people set? Because the Atomic Habits book had really opened my eyes when I read it at first 2 years ago. I was always under the impression that the appropriate way to set goals was that it had to be measurable, there had to be a date to it, and if you don't hit the exact goal by the date, it was like failure, and that's how you were going to stay motivated because you had the date set. What do you guys think of that?
A SMART goal? I don't know. Then specific,
actionable, or measurable, actionable, repeatable, and time-based.
Yeah, I remember at one point we had a goal-setting seminar at our affiliate, and we were like, we're not setting SMART goals, guys. I feel like a broken record maybe, but I didn't find that was effective. Anytime I tried it, I did feel like a failure if I wasn't able to meet the standards. And so we worked on identity-based goals. And so, yeah, that's kind of like the avenue we always approached goals with, was who am I? Who do I need to become? Why do I want to do this? Why do I want to achieve this? And from that seed, I find more fruitful growth than a SMART goal. So I hate on SMART goals, but yeah, I don't like them so much.
So we also did a goal setting seminar at my gym, and we did do SMART goals. And for some of the folks, they had incredible success, like way beyond fitness, like financial success and like career success. And so it's just like anything. A program will work if you stick to it. And so for the people that were like, well, I'll do my best, then it did not really work out for them. But the people that actually got very clear and specific on their goals, they did very well in succeeding in meeting their goals. But I think really important, I prefer the idea of like, it's not the goal, it's who you become in achieving the goal. And that's what we really want.
I think you could maybe take the SMART idea and modify it enough to have it help you build like your habits and your systems, as opposed to one ultimate outcome. So like, I mean, if you're planning on working out 5 days a week, a SMART goal would be to work out by 7 p.m. Like that's all measurable. There's a time to it, but it's like a small daily thing, as opposed to I expect that to deliver 20 pounds of weight loss on this date type of thing. So I think you could like use both a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's also making the goals small. I think the biggest problem is people either make too lofty of a goal or they beat themselves up if they don't hit the goal. If you don't hit the goal, you learn something. You learn something in the process of planning or working towards it. So you just refine it and keep going, or set a new goal. But that's where it kind of starts to shift more towards habit forming than goal setting.
One of the things that I've been realizing about myself recently that has helped a lot, and this has come through listening to some of the books I've been tackling through my whole book journey. It's okay, because for the longest time we get programmed as athletes when we're young, don't be a quitter. Quitters will always quit, right? Don't ever quit this and if you quit once, it becomes easier to quit, and then psychologically that messes with you from a young age. I think sometimes that sets people up for failure, because if you're really not into something, then let it go. Move on to the next thing. So yeah, if that's called quitting, it's like, then whatever, I quit then, because I'm going to go to something that's actually going to capture my attention. Now, how long that may be for, who knows? But I think by doing that, ultimately, you're going to wrap around to something that really, really captures your attention. A good example of this, actually, was when I first met Josh, which is Alex's husband. We sat down, had a conversation when they were coming out to meeting us, and he was just talking about all these things that kind of like captured his attention. He didn't know what to really do. And now I asked her, I was like, how's Josh doing with the social circle? And then what he's doing for his work, and now he's got his buddies, and on the weekends, they're going to do just that, which is like, that's not what he probably thought what he was going to be doing. So it's okay to move on. If something's just really not capturing you, like clearly it's not the right time for you at the moment. But one of those things is if like you got to go, try something new, right? So if your ideal fitness doesn't look like what street parking is, well then go try something else. Or if that didn't stick to you, then go try something else. In the process, you'll probably end up meeting somebody or being motivated by somebody that's going to help you keep you on this new journey of health and fitness, and heck, we'll always be there for you guys, no problem.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, right, is people get so attached to the plan that they actually forget why they're doing it, and they base their success on finishing the plan as opposed to becoming the person. And so they're like, oh, I finished I did my like 3 months of workouts and I hated it the whole time, but I finished it. And so it's like, well, is that a success? Because you didn't actually change your belief in fitness. You still hate it because you did something you hated the whole time. Like, you might hate it at first, but if as you're doing it, you just can't see yourself doing this forever, then you got to figure out a way to either change your attitude or change what you're doing. And that's one of the reasons that we offer so many different options, is because we don't believe there's one correct path or one correct program exactly that everybody needs. So yeah, trying to fit into a mold because you believe that that's the only way to get, become the person that you want to be or achieve the results, that's not good. And that's unfortunate. I think a lot of people do fall into that as well.
Yeah, like a perfect example to make it even way more relatable, because given that we're doing the topic of fitness, it seems like people are trying to find a way to make it relatable to them so we understand them. Like, but you just don't understand me, right? It's like, okay. Well, let's go this route then. It's the equivalent of going to college. Many people go to college thinking that they're going to do something in their life, but they actually finish college and now they're just in debt. And then now they end up doing not what they went to school for. There's also the other side of that coin where there's a lot of people that do go to college and end up finding what they end up loving, and they made something of themselves, and that was the right journey for them. So again, realizing that there's so many ways to approach things. There's no one way to do things. So just find what works for you, and it's not always going to be the mold.
One of my favorite things also to add, so when people say, okay, I have this plan for, I'm going to do Whole30. Immediately after you state what you're planning on doing, if I were your coach, I would say, okay, cool, Whole30, got it, then what? What do you mean? I'm going to do Whole30. Okay, after the 30 days are over, then what are you going to do? People don't think that far in advance at all. They think that the Whole30 all miraculously is just going to change, 30 days is going to change their whole life, and that their belief system that was intact, which is the reason they were eating tons of sugar and processed foods, is just magically going to disappear because for 30 days you deprived yourself. I'm going to do the New Year's street parking challenge. Great. Then what? If you don't have an answer to then what, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Then what? I posted like a funny meme on my Instagram stories that I stole from one of our members the other day that was like, the moment you realize that once you get in shape, you have to stay in shape. And the guy was like, what? So ask yourself when you're setting these goals, whether fitness or otherwise, okay, this is the plan. This is what I'm going to do. Then what? And if the plan that you choose isn't feeding into a lifelong, small changes, I would encourage you to reconsider the plan so that the then what answers itself, because it's not a temporary thing.
All right, let's go ahead and open this up for questions. I know Nicole's definitely got some.
Forgot about the questions.
Yeah, I know. This is a great topic today. Nicole, what do you got for us?
All right, so you've set a goal and you want to be generally more fit. You're trying to keep it simple, but we've talked about before, you can't always rely on the scale. So what would be a good measure of fitness? You're moving towards your goal, but you're not looking at a number on the scale.
There's so many ways that you can measure. So actually, I'm glad that you asked this question because it's something that I wanted to touch on. I would prefer goals that are based on the actions that you are taking and not in what those actions are providing for you, not the results that are coming from them. So people decide that their fitness program is successful based solely on the scale all the time. They're like, oh, I've been more consistent than I've ever been in my life, and I sleep better, and I feel better, and I do better in the workouts, and when I retest workouts, I get a way better score, and I'm stronger, and I fit better in my clothes. But then they'll step on the scale, and it hasn't changed as much as what they wrote down on January 1st, and they will think that all of it's a complete failure. So any of that stuff, like are you sleeping better? Do you have more confidence? Are you performing better in the workouts? Are you stronger? Were you using the 15-pound dumbbells in January, and by June you're using the 20-pound dumbbells and you're still moving them just as well or maybe even better? Do you enjoy working out more? Are you more consistent? Like there's so many other things, and people just latch onto the scale, and it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, just because in the fitness industry, that's like the most clearly way to, if you're promoting a program to show results that people can understand. Like, look at this person lost 50 pounds. But because as opposed to you post a picture of the person that looks the same, but has now improved her this by this much time, or is now improving her quality of life. But people are like, great. So to them, that doesn't really motivate them. So I think that's why scales have become such a big part of the fitness world. I think the scale is definitely just a tool in the toolbox in the in the overall picture of things.
Yeah, it's one measure, and you got to keep in mind that like you can be like smoking hot and miserable, and people don't like you. So just remember that. Okay, so that's one measure, and I know a lot of miserable smoking hot people, so just keep that in mind. And I think most of us would rather be a little bit less lean and happy and fulfilled and healthy. So just remember that that's not always the best indicator of health or a happy life or anything like that.
Hit us with another one.
How, when setting a goal, what would you say is a good way to keep it simple? Instead of the ice baths and nasal breathing and all of those other things, what are some good, maybe not necessarily easy, but simple tasks you can set for yourself?
So I would say kind of depends on where you are with everything. Like, so if you have tried stuff in the past and failed, or if you don't feel super confident in your ability to succeed in achieving your goal, if you've been inactive for quite a while, then I would say set the bar so low that it is impossible to fail. So like literally 5 minutes. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna move for 5 minutes. And if you do that, it's a big win. You give yourself a success and a win for the day. Now, if you are, if you've been active for a little while, then you want to find that sort of Goldilocks goal, right? Level of challenge where you're going to get a little bit of uncomfortable. You're going to have to expand your comfort zone, but it's 100% attainable. Because for me, my belief is that at the end of the day, it's all about winning, right? It's all about getting those little victories and banking them up. And that's what builds the confidence. And that's what, solidifies the belief. And when you have the belief, like, this is just who I am, this is what I do, then there's like not even really such thing as a goal. That's just who you are. That's just how you live your life.
Yeah, I was going to say it's kind of like the well, first of all, I have to do that with maintenance and stretching. I would love to be a 30-minute maintenance session person every night before I go to bed, and I have tried that several times, and just with my belief system about myself, I guess I don't even want to give excuses, right? But it's now down to I have to stretch at some point during the day. I need to stretch, and I've been like trying to pick either right when I wake up or right before I go to bed, but I force myself, and it's 5 minutes. And it's kind of like this is like super graphic, but it's kind of like the lobster, where if you throw the lobster into the water that's already boiling, they like scream. I think they actually like make a sound. Versus if the lobster's just in there in the cold water and you slowly heat it up, they don't even notice that it's happening. That's super graphic, but it's kind of what you got to do. You throw somebody into something that's so over the top, of course you're going to be screaming and being like, I can't do this. Versus just slowly let the temperature rise. You don't have to kill the lobster, but it's just an example.
Nice. No lobsters were hurt during this episode. Nicole, last question for today.
All right, last question for today. You guys talked about bringing the Tupperware to the party, and they're just, what are you doing? Or Jeb shows up, nasal breathing. Jeb, what are you doing? So how do you brush off the doubters? Either if you're your own doubter or someone else is doubting you, how do you brush that off and move on?
Sarcasm. That's how I mean, I think everybody would approach it differently. I know Julian would be like, what are you doing? Right? You would just kind of like throw it back at them.
Oh, yeah, we all have our own approach. I'm curious, Alex, what's your approach?
I get pretty snarky with people I'm comfortable with. I had aesthetic goals for a while, and, if they would say something, I'd be like, well, I'm trying not to look like you. Like, I've said that before. Which,
Wow.
yeah, I know. Super mean.
Wow, Regina.
I know. Hey, but it worked because we moved right along. No questions asked. But no, I just changed the subject. That works really well for me. It's like, ha ha ha. Well, look at this, and then we
Something
just move
shiny.
on.
It's a
Yeah,
squirrel.
what I do with Knox like a toddler.
What do you do?
I mean, I would say I'm very sarcastic, and I'm pretty sarcastic with strangers also, maybe even more so than people that I know. And it's not, I wouldn't go so far as to say I don't want to look like you necessarily, but I'd be like, you have something against people that are healthy? Like, I don't understand the question. And it would, that's as far as it would go. I feel like people feel like they need to apologize for their choices and explain themselves. Whatever you do, don't do that. Just be like, I felt like eating from home. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, don't at me, bro. What about you, Jeb? Jeb would like start sending you studies, I feel like.
No, I mean, I've to be very honest, what I would do is I would prepare ahead of time, like somebody is going to say something, and have my response ready to go, and really, I think what it comes down to is confidence. If you confidently bring your own stuff to the party and you're just having a good time and doing your own thing, nobody's even gonna question it. But if you're like all uncomfortable about it and trying to hide it and being awkward, yeah, you gotta own it. It's like in the Matrix when Neo is supposed to like run away from the agent, but he turns around and he's like getting ready to fight him, and he's in the Matrix, and Trinity and she's like out in the spaceship, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And Morpheus is like, "He's beginning to believe," right? That's what it's like. If you believe it, own it, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to make people feel uncomfortable or awkward when I choose to do something. I will put it out there and be like, hey, guys, I'm doing this. Does anybody want to join me? And if nobody wants to join me, then I just continue doing it anyway. Or if someone wants to join me, then I'll, okay, well, this is what I'm doing. Are you up for it? And then, luckily I'm around a crew of people that are usually up for it. And if they fall off, then I'm just like, well, that was lame. They fell off, and that's on them. But I will continue the course. And that it's just confidence at that point. You just stick to it. Stick to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Right? There's so many other things that we could talk about when it comes to this. But what we encourage you guys to do is to not fall into the trap of trying to overhaul your entire life on one random day in January just because it's what people do. We encourage you guys not to be sold any product, really, to be honest. People, the marketing companies are going to be coming at you with like this program or this supplement or this piece of equipment or that or whatever that you need. You absolutely, if there was something that was 100% guaranteed to deliver the results that you are looking for, and it was as easy as they're going to say that it is, we would all already have done it. And everyone would be walking around with the exact body that they're hoping for, with no issues, happy, fulfilled, no insecurities. If there was something that was as effective as they're going to make it seem like it is, we would all already have done it. So I encourage you not to fall into those traps. We encourage you guys to set small action-based goals that are about finding consistency and changing your behavior and changing your beliefs as opposed to weight on the scale or something like that. Think outside of 12 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is. Ask yourself, then what? Ask yourself why? And we'll be here to help you be successful as much as we possibly can.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap up episode 5 of the Coaches Roundtable. So, don't forget to like and subscribe.
I have one more thing. Sorry,
sure.
Alex just reminded me. The New Year's Challenge, the Street Parking New Year's Challenge, because of everything that we've been talking about here, is going to be a little bit different this year we are going to help you guys to find consistency before you dive into anything super duper specific. You can find more information about it on the members only website. And of course, we'll be rolling stuff out as it gets closer. But we encourage you guys to participate, to find, it actually answers Nicole's question earlier perfectly, or what are the simple steps? These are the simple steps. The stuff we have chosen for the New Year's Challenge is exactly that.
All right.
Continue.
Episode 5, Roundtable. Like, subscribe, and share this video with anybody that you feel may need to watch this. And we will check in with you guys on our next episode. Take care.
2020 was only the beginning. You must prepare yourself for the road to Olympus.